This is a group of Brotherhood of the Spirit alumni who have continued to meditate together here at an Aikido dojo in Florence, Massachusetts. And because of certain gaps I felt in free spirits regarding getting across the essential spirituality that brought the commune together in the early years, I've gathered everybody here to discuss it.
I'm Jackie Odess Gillette, Jackie Odess at the time. And I came to the commune. I was 24 years old. It was 1970 in the end of July. And I stayed for 8 years. And I left in September of 1978.
My name is Rob Hinks. I joined the commune in 1969. I was 19. And I stayed till 1976 when I decided to start a band and wanted to have my own music equipment. So it was time for me to graduate.
John Charamella. I came in the fall of 1969 and I left in the summer of 1996. So I was there for 27 years. You win. Yeah. I won. You got a white
So
sweater.
sending you a card.
I'm Daniel Brown. I grew up in New York City. I came to the commune in September of 1970, stayed 2 weeks. It was so intense I fled, but got dragged back by the energy, by gosh, and joined in October of 1970 and stayed until 1984.
My name is Phil Dowling, and I came to the commune in the spring of 1971 as a 19-year-old, and I stayed 10 years.
My name is Laurel Austin, and when there was no commune. I'm a founding member. There was a roving meditation, fun-having work group. We had a couple of cars. I was one of the drivers. This was 68, March. My sister and Michael were an item. They were experiencing a lovely romance when I came back and spontaneously meditated with another few people, and I stayed there 8 years.
I'm Bruce Geisler. I visited the commune in the summer of 1970 during our Summer of Love Woodstock, where we were overrun by thousands of people. Left, went back to college, dropped out in the middle of my senior year in January of 1971 and stayed until October of 1975.
I'm Dale Sluter. In the wonderful summer of '68, I was looking for a place to be. I couldn't go to school anymore. It made no sense. And so I went and I met with some people that lived in a tree house and worked on a farmer for free, and I found my home. That was the summer of '68, and I stayed till 1973.
My name's Ted Casey, and I came to the commune and visited in the summer and fall of '70 a couple of times, and then I came back for a year on New Year's Day, 1971, and I left at the end of '71, but I stayed in touch with the commune, and in the last 10 years I seem to be increasingly in touch with some of the former members that you see here.
Who thinks you can name the most essential spiritual belief in the Brotherhood? What was like the essential belief?
Well, Oreo cookies.
Yeah, Oreo cookies.
Bags of Oreo cookies. I think the most essential thing was the idea of that thought was something real, that the power of thought really determined who you were, how you were, and just how your life would go, that you could actually make your life go a certain course by the way you thought, and that positive thoughts would lead to positive actions and a positive life, whereas negative thinking would do the exact opposite. This was something that when I first came to the commune, it was just, that's what all people talked about. The thinking had power, had results, that there was an energy of thought that was very tangible and something which you had to be very careful with, something that you had to monitor. I watch my thoughts, and at the end of the day, it's one of the songs of, Spirit and Flesh.
And what did you try to do with your thoughts?
Well, in my case, because my thoughts go all over the place, just to sort of monitor and discipline them more. That especially if I'm going through a phase where I'm very angry about something or worried or stressed out, there's a tendency to get paranoid or fearful or send all sorts of, negative is sort of a loaded word, but just sort of, irrational thinking out into the universe. And that has, the law of karma is anything that you think and the way you channel your thoughts does have repercussions. So the idea for me is to, whenever I feel that kind of stress, just is to keep my thoughts as positive as possible. Mm-hmm. It's not denying. It's not trying to suppress them. It's just a matter of choosing not to let thoughts that I would think would be damaging to sort of run my life, that I have control over them instead of them having control over me.
And what I kind of thought was the main principle was the interconnectedness of nature and people and the entire universe. And so the thoughts are taking place within a completely interconnected world where time and space weren't linear and weren't limited the way we thought they were. So time wasn't limited by one lifetime, let's say, and space wasn't limited by the body. So
you hit, for me, the key was the concept of reincarnation.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing that just, it absolutely bowled me over. It wasn't certainly any part of anything, some vague notion from different religions, but certainly not in Christianity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that you'd lived many lives before absolutely bowled me over, and it struck a chord within me that just resonated throughout my being.
Yeah.
That this wasn't one and done. There was more to this.
Yeah,
than
reincarnation for me was really big because I had my first experience of reincarnation when I was 15. So, but I didn't really understand it. I had no reference because growing up in a Catholic home, I had no reference to what that experience was about until I came to the community. That, oh wow, that's what that was, and it made sense to me. But reincarnation and what Hinksey said about the oneness of all life, seeing that there really is no separation between everything that exists. It really exists. Everything really exists in a oneness, and I remember whether for me, the lectures that came through Elwood were very important for me at the time, mainly because I was one of the kids recording them, so I got to listen in on a lot of them. But that idea of the oneness of everything, whether it be your thought, your feelings, your action, and how everything encompassed in that oneness creates our reality. That was something that was really important to me.
Yeah, the fact that in the very beginning we had a statement that truly defined to me the reality. We had the statement that we said, I am spirit. I am vibrating creative energy. I declare it to exist. I affirm it. And I vow to lose myself, my carnal self, into my higher self, my spirit. In other words, not getting so embroiled in this body that we forgot that we were spirit coming into our bodies to experience this wonderful, wonderful dimension, Earth, and coming together with other beings and sharing this idea, this feeling. The energy went sky high. Like Johnny said, when he came to the community, there was this whole recognition of other beings understanding the same deep feelings. And it was the same for me, too. I was coming home. These were people that I could love, that I could share with, and it was rich and vibrant.
I was a philosophy major in college for a while, and so we're talking a little bit about philosophy here, but the thing that was different about the commune that I experienced immediately was that we were all experiencing this stuff. We weren't thinking about it or just talking about it. It was intense. Yeah. It was very intense. Every day we'd be having experiences about the things that we're discussing today.
I think what really struck me when I first came to the community was the idea that there was a group of people living together who were dedicated to helping the human race. Dedicated to that in an extreme way. so that everything that a person did, thought, or said was supposed to be focused on that goal and on truthfulness. And when I first came to the community, people would walk up to you and say, "You're not doing it." And that was a very common experience. And I found that to be very energizing, because it was so inspiring to me that people were so focused on coming from an authentic, truthful place, that they would call each other on it and they would really strive for that. That really blew my mind and impressed me tremendously.
That opens up a couple of things we'll probably speak to again. People being harsh at each other as a result of it was a point of comfort we had reached. I'm thinking of the very, very early stages, the things that we experienced as we were in the first vortex of the beginning of the community. And just to speak to that as I can, tell you that as soon as we were together, there was a blessing, an amazing energy there, and it made us meditate together. It was so intense, we would just stop everything periodically. We would just know the energy had built, and I had already been meditating a little. They had just started meditating that spring in '68, and we would just stop spontaneously and meditate. And we were in what is a more natural state for living creatures. And it was kind of a purified, rarefied place. We were so innocent, we didn't know what to think of it. We began reading Eastern texts and having conversations with people that were versed in meditation practices and reincarnation and so forth. So people came to talk to us about it. But the actual experience of it was simply discovering and honoring that energy. And we didn't have a lingo. There wasn't a language. Just as Dale said, I think we came up with that the first summer maybe. But in the beginning, it just had a spontaneous eruption among us. It was really
that's
sweet.
what was really beautiful, the spontaneity and how it just, there was no form, there was really no form.
Right.
It's just what was happening that day and how, and flowing into that. And that's what I love so much about it. It was so
In
free.
the 60s gave a rise to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we were all apart, but all of us were experiencing something in our own lives.
Yep.
And then coming together, all of a sudden there's like this group soul, this recognition of hey, these beings are really living what I feel in my heart, and the opportunity to be very, very simple. I mean, we lived in nature. At the beginning of the community, I came and I was living in a tent or a 3-foot-high shack. There's 7 of us living there, and we worked for a farmer for free. And that simplicity of being in nature and going down to the brook to take a bath, it was something the hippies, a lot of the so-called hippies did, is they communed with nature. We got back to the simple, back to the basic. We didn't have to go out and work. We helped farmers for free, and they gave us food in exchange, which was wonderful. I mean, eating 8 years of corn, and that was it, was a wonderful thing. I mean, I loved it, and having brown rice and being able to put butter on it. Wow. And then tamari.
Marjorie, that was Marjorie.
Marjorie. I mean, we experienced such gratitude at such simple levels, and that gratitude allowed these feelings, to come up between us. And then those feelings would ignite things between us. I remember people looking into my eyes and saying things that just opened something up that was like a mystical experience. Laurel did that to me shortly after I got the community. She looked at me and all of a sudden I this deep feeling in my heart came out, and it came through my eyes, and she recognized it. She said, "I know." Not a word was said.